episode of Mr. Shodi's Snapchat Science. Now today what we want to look at is how the blood glucose levels are controlled. Now hopefully by the end of this video, you're able to 1. State how hormones are involved in controlling blood glucose level. We then want to go on to explain how glucose levels are controlled inside the blood. And then we want to explain how diabetes is treated and the different methods of treating diabetes. Right, so what we first want to look at is blood glucose levels. Now, blood glucose levels are controlled in the pancreas. Now, there's 2 hormones that you need to know about, both insulin and glucagon. And we need to know the roles of both insulin and glucagon. So let's get right into it. Now, if you were to look at our blood, and imagine your blood was a litre, okay? Glucose would only make up about 1 gram worth of this 1 litre. Now, despite that, glucose is so important. As you know, it's used in respiration and it's a really important ingredient in terms of making energy. Now, let's look at how our glucose levels are controlled. Now, let's say, for example, you used to eat a nice snack, for example, this cake. Your blood glucose levels would rise. And the reason why they rise is the glucose is released from your food, okay? Now, your pancreas does something really smart. Your pancreas then goes on to release a hormone. This hormone is known as insulin. This insulin is in charge of bringing your blood glucose levels back down. So what happens is, insulin causes your liver to take up the glucose, okay, and store it. And this glucose is stored as glycogen. So let's look at this in this example. The glucose goes from your blood, okay, and it is stored inside your liver, and it is stored as glycogen, okay? It's really important for us to get those key terms. Glucose is stored in the liver as glycogen. Now, as glucose is stored as glycogen, this obviously brings down your blood glucose level. It's really important to keep our blood glucose level within a constant state. Don't forget homeostasis we're looking at, keeping our internal conditions constant, okay? Now, let's say, for example, you're doing something strenuous, as doing physical activity, or even revising, okay? Your blood glucose levels will fall. This is because you're carrying out a higher rate of respiration, and therefore glucose is being used up during respiration. So as your glucose levels fall, your pancreas then does something else which is really smart, and it produces the hormone glucagon. Again, another really important hormone. Now, glucagon, what it does is it causes the liver to release glucose back into the blood. Now, what happens is, glucagon will tell the liver to break down that glycogen that it is storing and release it back as glucose, okay? And that's a really important step, okay? That's how we get our blood glucose levels to rise again, okay? And as that happens, okay, so glycogen is converted into glucose because of glucagon, okay? Your blood glucose levels will then rise again, okay? So it's really important that you get used to the key terms, okay? Glucagon causes glycogen to be broken down back into glucose. And it's also important for you to know the role of insulin, okay? So don't forget to go back, pause the video, and make sure you have that in your head. Now, what we want to look at is as a whole. All of this, the role of glucagon and insulin, okay, is part of the process of homeostasis. It's part of the process of keeping your internal environment constant. And in this example, we're looking at blood glucose levels. Now, what I want you guys to do is just pause the video and see if you can answer and fill these gaps in. So pause the video now. Okay, so hopefully you've paused the video, so let's go through it. So, high blood sugar causes the hormone insulin to be released from the pancreas. Now, insulin causes body cells to take in glucose from the blood. This decreases blood glucose, okay? Insulin also causes excess sugar in the blood to be converted to glycogen. This is stored in the liver, okay? Now, we're going to do a similar exercise, but for decreasing blood sugar levels, okay? So pause this video now. Okay, so hopefully you paused the video again, so let's get right into it. So, low blood sugar causes the pancreas to release more glucagon, okay? Now, glucagon causes the stored glycogen in the liver to be broken down into glucose and is released into the blood. This raises blood sugar levels, okay? So it's really important, as I said, to make sure you know the roles of glucagon and insulin, okay? They're both proteins that are released by the pancreas. Now, let's look at some diseases that could happen in terms of your blood sugar levels. Now, one thing we need to know about is type 1 diabetes. Now, type 1 diabetes is caused by the pancreas not producing insulin. And if insulin isn't produced, don't forget the blood glucose levels won't be able to be reduced. And therefore what will happen is you will have excess blood glucose levels. Now, having an excess amount of blood glucose or glucose inside your blood can seriously damage your cells. It can cause things such as blindness, it can cause kidney damage, and you may even need a kidney transplant. Don't forget, we've looked at kidney transplant in our previous video. Now, guys, a person with type 1 diabetes must inject themselves with insulin, and this must be done either just before a meal, okay, or slightly before, okay? Now, it's really important that insulin is injected into the person just before the meal. Otherwise, after eating a meal, if they don't inject the insulin, their blood glucose levels will get really high. And they have symptoms such as feeling quite tired, okay, feeling thirsty, etc. Okay, so this is type 1 diabetes we're looking at. Now, before a person injects themselves with insulin, they need to know how much insulin they need to inject. So what they do is they calculate the amount of insulin they need to inject just by taking a pinprick, okay? They can use a little device known as a pinprick. It can be done at home, okay? And it tells you how much insulin you need to inject, all right? Now, guys, the insulin is usually injected into the subcutaneous fat, so the fat layer, okay, which is stored directly beneath the skin, okay? So that's where the insulin injections will be injected. Now, in terms of treating diabetes, all right, there are two main types of ways we can get insulin into the body, okay? We can either have insulin injections, which we've just been speaking about, or you can have an insulin pump. Now, an insulin pump really goes around with the person all day, okay, and it controls that background level of insulin, okay? So guys, let's look at the advantages and disadvantages of both insulin injections and an insulin pump, all right? So the first thing we want to look at is insulin injections can be discreet, okay, and the injection can be done using a syringe or a pen. And this can be done in privacy, and it can be done using the person's own sort of facilities. You can do it at home, etc. So it's an advantage. The insulin injection is also cheaper to do, okay? A disadvantage of using the insulin injection is there's a greater chance of having extreme high or low blood glucose concentrations, okay? So that's really important. Now, don't forget we said with the extreme high or low blood glucose concentration, okay, it can cause the cells to really become affected by this, all right? Now, let's look at the process of using an insulin pump. Now, using an insulin pump, okay, a person has better control of their blood glucose concentration, okay, and therefore, there's not those spikes. So there's not a really high or really low spikes of blood glucose levels. So this is better for the cell. Don't forget we said those spikes cause issues, all right? A person using the insulin pump also uses less insulin per day, okay? And therefore, it's controlling the blood glucose levels, and they're not having to inject as much insulin into their body. Now, a disadvantage of the insulin pump is that it must be worn almost all the time, okay? And the equipment is also more expensive. So guys, go over this table, pause the video, make sure you've got your notes, make sure you understand the difference between both insulin and glucagon, sorry. A really key thing that is important for you guys to notice is that insulin, okay, has to be injected. It cannot be taken orally. The reason why it can't be taken orally is because insulin is actually a protein, so it will be broken down by the digestive system if it's taken in orally. Don't forget, guys, to like, share, subscribe, and revise, okay? Mr. Ashodi, signing out.